And on tonight's poll position, are the Tories mad to think Boris Johnson could save them? Nigel Farage, he's rattled, shifting blame for all those nutty candidates. Is it really his fault? And Keir Starmer's frustrated at his performance against Sunak. Will he come out swinging next time? Hello and good evening. All that and more on tonight's poll position. And we're joined by Neil Kinnock. Hello, Neil. Labour peer, former Labour leader, EU commissioner, and father.
I'm very old man. I'm very, very old man. Yes, yes.
And father and grandfather. You could have a Labour
Indeed.
minister in the family, in Stephen.
It could be.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Neil, you've seen many an election in your time. Are you pinching yourself at the scale of the Labour leads shown by pollsters?
Well, I can take now the mental insurance, which means that I see the polls. I'm sometimes inclined to think that they're not a million miles away, but then I take the Kool-Aid and decide there's only one poll that really counts, and that's the one that people vote in on the 4th of July. And these are safeguards that I've employed for a very, very long time. And even in today's exotic circumstances, I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, there's an Ipsos mega poll out tonight. Labour 453 seats, Conservative 115, Reform 3. I mean, that would be a stonking lead.
Well, I've got this image when I see figures like that of our people having to fill up the other side of the Commons as well. Because it's just, obviously, there's never enough room on one side, and the House of Commons was rebuilt in order to be too small to take all the members. But on the high days and holidays, Queen's speech or King's speech and so on, I guess we'll have to occupy the other side of the chamber as well.
Tough if that happens, Neil. But do you remind your Labour colleagues of 1992, where the polls were showing a Labour victory? You'd be Prime Minister. It turned out not to be the case.
Not really, because I thought in the first week of the campaign that it was possible for us to reduce the Tory majority of 101 to the point where we could be the biggest single party. But as the election went on, I knew just from our own private polling, but also a sense of smell developed over elections since 1959. And Glenys, my wife, knew it as well. She was a very, very experienced campaigner. And by a week, 10 days before the election, we knew it wasn't going to happen. We knew that we wouldn't lose by much, but of course, coming second is no damn good at all. So, in a sense, it protected myself and Glenys from the cataclysmic unemployment, or rather disappointment, that a lot of other people felt. And we just got on with life. I was preoccupied with the future of my kids. Steve had just got a scholarship to the College of Europe, and Rachel was going to university. And I was also preoccupied by the future of the people who'd given me their lives for the previous 9 years, and getting decent jobs for them or seeing them settled. So I didn't dwell on it, but I know a lot of the other people did. And as Glenys said, for a lot of people, it felt as if they'd been bereaved, because they'd so persuaded themselves that we're going to win. But she and I weren't among that number. So it made it a little bit easier to manage.
Yeah, Neil, there might be a little bit of interference on your mic there, but as you just adjust that, The Labour campaign has gone pretty smoothly and according to plan. There was that wobble over Diane Abbott, would she be allowed to stand or not? But looking from the outside at the Conservative campaign, are you surprised it has been so bumpy and error-strewn, with ever from Rishi Sunak, appearing in Drowning Street and things can only get wetter? There's just been error after error after error.
Yeah, I mean,
certainly more professional.
That's what happens to a disorganized army in retreat. Their casualty rates are much higher, and if you draw the military parallel, that's where the Tories have been. They didn't pick the battlefield. They didn't pick the date. The only real power that Rishi Sunak had was to decide when we would have the election. And he took everybody, including everybody in his own party, with the possible exception of his parliamentary private secretary and a bookie in mid Wales, took everybody by surprise. So they started off in that way. It is very, very difficult to repair a wagon, an electoral wagon, when the wheels have started coming off on the first day. The nearest experience I've had of that was 1983. You remember it, Kev, and you remember what an absolute disaster that was. And we were fighting from opposition with a very divided party and a strong third party in the Social Democrat Liberals. So we didn't pick the terrain and we didn't pick the date, unlike the Tories this time around. But that was a comparable disaster. And I observe it now. I don't think it can improve for them. The best they can hope for is that it doesn't become even more shambolic. But you almost wait every day, maybe in morning and afternoon, to see what they're going to absolutely collapse, blow up, fumble, drop next. It's quite extraordinary.
Yeah, your Never Grow Old speech is still my favourite British political speech. The call has gone out to bring back Boris Johnson. He's recorded a couple of videos for candidates he particularly supports. He's now writing a few letters. Will it make any difference, or does Partygate mean that Johnson is now a busted flush?
It isn't just Partygate. It's the whole decadent shambles of those years and the recognition by huge numbers of people that they were grossly misled in the 2019 general election with this get Brexit done, oven-ready deal, already arranged social care plans and all the rest of it, which turned out to be complete fables, of course. So I think that he was and is and will be rejected. But the Tory party has got an extraordinary capability for trying to exhume ghosts. For decades, they worshipped the memory of Winston Churchill. Some would say with good substantial reason after his war record. For decades, they've been half remembering a very tinted memory of the Thatcher years. And there are people around who are prepared to say now, I've heard one or two of them on broadcast saying, of course, things would be different if we could bring back Johnson. And I find that fantastic. I don't think they can have knocked the door, spoken to a voter, certainly not in the last couple of months, in order to have that view, unless, of course, they're fibbing, which is quite possible. But that guy's gone. He's gone. And he's not coming back until they pay politicians £1 million a year and all of the film exposure you can manage.
Yeah. This election, Neil, I don't know if it does to you. It just reminds me of 1983, but in reverse. Then the centre left was split between Labour, the SDP Liberal Alliance, and Thatcher and the Tories benefited hugely. Here, there was a split on the right between the Conservative Party and Reform UK, Nigel Farage as well. Now, Nigel Farage questioned why he has so many crank, vile, nutty, poisonous candidates, is saying, well, we paid a vetting company a lot of money. There's some great conspiracy theory. They're linked to the Tory party. They've allowed them in, might get the police involved. Do you think he just needs to look in the mirror and wonder why they've attracted all these people?
Yeah, I think looking in the mirror, which he probably does pretty often. I think one of the great love affairs of history is between Nigel Farage and his mirror. But the reality is his stance, his promises, his mythology, his misdirection, his evasion, all of those things and more have been what's attracted a certain kind of mentality to his parties, not just the current one, but previous parties. And if you then end up with very weird dross, and patently they have with several of their candidates, he really should do a bit of a self-examination, not look around for some vetting company to victimize, because it's his fault.
Do you think he's just a scapegoater? Normally it's migrants. Now it is a vetting company.
It doesn't matter. You see, the thing is, people with his politics have always got to have a betrayal narrative. The country was let down. We were stabbed in the back. Brexit wasn't done properly, and so on. Well, no matter where you look or what issue you raise, they are never responsible. It's always somebody else. It's like dealing with a 6-year-old kid in that respect. And while it can be very amusing with a 6-year-old when they come up with absolutely preposterous excuses, it's not amusing when people are running for parliament in a democracy. It's a serious old business. We're going to have a few laughs along the way, but fundamentally, it is raw seriousness. And this guy only pretends to be serious. So when they are looking for somebody to blame or accusing or using the betrayal narrative, you know you must be, as an adult, regardless of your politics, you've got to be suspicious about somebody like that.
What friendly advice would you give, Neil, to Keir Starmer ahead of the next and final head-to-head with Rishi Sunak, after he's expressed, the Labour leader's expressed frustration with his performance in the first, that he didn't come out fighting or swinging hard enough initially when that £2,000, what's clearly a Tory tax lie, was invaded?
One of the things I like most about Keir, he's a normal bloke, and I like that very much. But the fact that if he's in a contest, and you only got to watch him playing football to know this, he doesn't like to come second, even if it's by 1% or 2%. And it's nothing to do with ego. It's to do with, I can't have really made the effort that I should have made if I came second. And that, you need a fighter like that. Not somebody shouting and stamping and swinging their arms around, but somebody with a determination to do the very, very best they can. So I think that's one of his great qualities, and he didn't like coming second. But the fact is, he's doing damn well. He's keeping his cool. He's demonstrated a cold anger, which is genuine, totally authentic. He's expressing what a lot of people feel. The one thing that I think he could add, and to some extent he's already done this, is when he's accused of caution, I think he should look into the lens and say, hey, haven't you heard the news? Caution now is honesty. Caution is telling you the truth. If we went beyond the undertakings that we are giving, which we know we can deliver, we'd be trying to have you on. We'll look at the books, we'll see what the detail is, we'll see what room there is to maneuver, and we'll do the best we can for Britain as quickly as we can. And it might not be all that quick. But in the meantime, our caution is honesty. It's not being daunted, it's the straight truth. Now, I quite like him to say that. And as I say, he's conveyed it in many ways, but I think he could go straight down the barrel because people know he's a straight kind of guy.
Yeah, Labour way ahead in points to the Tories who need the knockout blow. So next time Starmer's up against Sunak, does he cover up or does he come out punching?
Well, the best stance always, keep your chin down and your guard up and take it on your upper arms and then look for the chance and smack it in when you do that. And I think that Keir is good on his feet and he knows that. He can do that.
Neil, thank you so much, Neil Kinnock. Absolutely a pleasure to see and hear you. Thank you, everybody, including the cat, for watching.
This is Buffalo, and she always horns in. She's a damn nuisance.
We'll be back, same place, same time tomorrow on Pole Position. Thank you.
All the best.
Bye.
Cheers.